When two Hollywood legends clashed at the Cannes Film Festival, the world took notice. One delivered a fiery political outburst that ignited controversy, the other responded with a masterclass in keeping cool and carrying on. In a matter of minutes, Robert De Niro turned a prestigious awards ceremony into a political rally, blasting former President Donald Trump in front of Cannes' elite. Not long after, Tom Cruise, Hollywood's ultimate crowd-pleaser, offered an indirect but pointed rebuke, not by name-calling or grandstanding, but by doing what he does best, focusing on the movies and the fans. This is the story of how a Cannes stage became the battleground for two very different visions of Hollywood, and what Tinseltown might learn from it. It was supposed to be a night celebrating cinema. At the 78th Cannes Film Festival's opening ceremony, Robert De Niro received a Lifetime Achievement Palme d'Or, a moment meant to honor his contributions to film. Instead, De Niro seized the microphone and launched into a politically charged tirade. With the eyes of the film world upon him, the 81-year-old Oscar winner lambasted Donald Trump as a philistine president and warned that Trump's policies were a global threat to democracy. He decried Trump's record, accusing him of slashing support for the arts and education, and slammed the former president's recent call for a 100% tariff on foreign-made films. "You can't put a price on creativity," De Niro declared defiantly, "but apparently you can put a tariff on it." Each line of his speech grew more intense. "In my country, we are fighting like hell for the democracy we once took for granted," he proclaimed, linking the fight for art to the fight against authoritarianism. Raising his voice to a rallying cry, he insisted the crisis was not just an American problem, it's a global one. We have to act, and we have to act now. De Niro's words brought many in the Grand Théâtre Lumière to their feet. Applause echoed through the hall as he called on everyone who cares about liberty to organize, protest, and vote to stop Trump. It was a surreal scene, a French Riviera film gala transformed into what felt like a campaign stump. De Niro even invoked the motto Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, casting the defense of art and democracy as a shared cause. In that moment, the legendary actor wasn't just thanking his collaborators or reminiscing on his career, he was on a mission, using Cannes' spotlight to send a political message to the world. Outside the Cannes bubble, however, the reception was far more mixed. De Niro's Cannes rant immediately sparked debate about the propriety and impact of such a move. Many viewers and commentators questioned whether this was an inspiring act of conscience or another instance of Hollywood overstepping into activism. One scathing commentary described the scene bluntly. "Nothing screams democracy in crisis like a multi-millionaire actor scolding the world from a film festival's red carpet." In this view, De Niro's speech, fiery and impassioned as it was, amounted to performance art of the most tiresome kind, a familiar script of outrage rather than real courage. Critics pointed out that he hit all the expected notes, warning that art is under threat, proclaiming, "We are fighting for democracy," and urging political action, all delivered from the comfort of an elite cultural event. To detractors, it felt more like virtue signaling than a brave stand, especially coming from a celebrity insulated by fame and wealth. Even some festival insiders cringed at how the evening's tone shifted. Cannes organizers had tried to keep the focus on films and avoid partisan politics, but De Niro's detour blew those intentions apart. Suddenly, the headlines out of Cannes weren't about the movies or awards, but about De Niro versus Trump. Social media lit up with debates. Supporters praised De Niro for speaking truth to power, while others echoed fatigue, saying they were tired of being lectured by Hollywood at entertainment events. The controversy threatened to overshadow the films themselves. Cannes is no stranger to bold statements, but this was different. It felt like a line in the sand. Was the festival about cinematic art, or had it become another stage for America's political battles? The Backlash made one thing clear. By throwing down the gauntlet at Trump, De Niro had also thrown Cannes into the culture wars, whether it wanted to be there or not. Just as the fervor over De Niro's speech reached a boil, Tom Cruise arrived in Cannes, and he could not have provided a more dramatic contrast. 3 years after wowing Cannes with Top Gun: Maverick, Cruise returned to the festival in 2025 for the world premiere of Mission: Impossible – Final Reckoning. He hit the red carpet not as an activist or pundit, but as a movie maker eager to celebrate entertainment. The response from the Cannes crowd was ecstatic. A roaring 5-minute standing ovation followed the premiere of his film. Cameras captured Cruise, 62, grinning ear to ear as he made his way down the aisle of the Grand Théâtre Lumière, soaking in cheers and applause from an audience thrilled by his latest high-octane adventure. The atmosphere was electric, but notably it was all about movies and fandom, not politics. When Cruise took the microphone after the screening, he didn't mention any president, policy, or threat to art. Instead, he spoke straight from the heart about cinema and gratitude. To be here in Cannes and have these moments, as a kid, I couldn't have dreamed of something like this, he told the crowd warmly. I'm very grateful to have been able to entertain you with this franchise for 30 years. In that simple statement, Cruise reaffirmed what drives him: entertaining audiences. No grandstanding, no partisan jabs, just a sincere connection between a filmmaker and his viewers. The festival goers erupted in applause once more, this time not for a political stance, but for a superstar acknowledging the shared joy of movies. It was a quintessential Tom Cruise moment: earnest, enthusiastic, and resolutely apolitical. Tom Cruise didn't need to name Robert De Niro or Donald Trump to make a statement. His actions and words at Cannes, and in the days around it, were an implicit rebuke of turning film events into political battlegrounds. In fact, just prior to Cannes, Cruise had been confronted with the very issue De Niro was shouting about. At a press conference in Seoul for Mission: Impossible, The Final Reckoning, a reporter asked Cruise for his thoughts on Trump's proposed film tariffs, essentially inviting him to wade into the same controversy. It was a perfect chance to echo De Niro's criticisms or score a headline with a political quote. But Cruise did something almost shocking in today's media climate. He politely refused to take the bait. After a brief pause and a glance at his director, Christopher McQuarrie, Cruise leaned to the moderator and said evenly, "We'd rather answer questions about the movie. Thank you." That was it. No condemnation or endorsement of Trump's policy, just a firm redirection to what he was there to talk about: the film. That one line spoke volumes. In a media landscape where every celebrity soundbite is dissected for political meaning, Cruise's non-answer was itself a statement of principle. As one entertainment outlet put it, Tom Cruise just proved that it's possible for a movie star to stay focused on the movie and not Donald Trump. He shut down the political question with a calm smile, effectively saying, "This is neither the time nor place." Even the panel's moderator seemed relieved, chiming in, "I think that's a fair answer," as the event moved on. Cruise's restraint was noted as fair and incredibly rare in modern Hollywood. At a moment when many press tours have become ideological battlegrounds for social and political issues, Cruise chose a different path. He kept the Mission: Impossible promo tour exactly what it was meant to be, about the movie, not a campaign. Or as one commentator neatly summarized, sell the movie, not the message. The contrast between De Niro and Cruise at Cannes couldn't have been starker. Here were two iconic actors, both beloved and enormously successful, each using their platform in entirely opposite ways. Robert De Niro sees no separation between his art and his activism. To him, the Cannes stage was an opportunity, even an obligation, to speak out on world affairs. He framed his political rant as a defense of art itself, asserting that art looks for truth. That's why art is a threat to autocrats and fascists. In De Niro's view, silence in the face of what he considers grave threats is not an option. As he said, "We can't just sit back and watch." This philosophy reflects a segment of Hollywood that believes artists must use their influence to push for social and political change. It's the idea that film stars have a duty beyond entertainment, to rally the public, challenge authority, and fight like hell for democracy, as De Niro urged. Tom Cruise, on the other hand, embodies a more old-school ethos, the entertainer who unites people by transcending politics, not diving into them. Throughout his career, Cruise has largely steered clear of partisan statements. He's built a reputation for being, as some call him, the last real movie star. Someone who wants his work to be enjoyed by everyone, not just those who agree with his personal views. The Cannes episode cemented that image. Cruise's refusal to join the political fray wasn't born of apathy or ignorance. It was a conscious choice to keep the spotlight on his craft. In an era when many celebrities openly align with causes or candidates, Cruise's neutrality is almost radical. He takes no position so as to not alienate the audience, as observers have noted, understanding that his fans come from all walks of life. By staying out of political mudslinging, he ensures that no moviegoer feels unwelcome at a Tom Cruise film. This approach harkens back to a Hollywood where actors' personal politics were often kept private, and the focus stayed on the fantasy up on screen. The philosophical divide is clear. De Niro believes now is the time to take a stand, even at the cost of controversy, because he feels fundamental values are at stake. Cruise believes that audiences deserve a break from divisiveness, that movies should be a shared escape, not another front in the culture wars. One man's rallying cry is another man's unwanted distraction. And at Cannes, these two philosophies were on full display, for better or worse. If box office numbers and crowd reactions are anything to go by, Tom Cruise's apolitical strategy has struck a chord with audiences. In 2022, while many studio releases struggled to lure people back to theaters, Cruise's nostalgic, thrill-packed Top Gun, Maverick became a cultural phenomenon. It grossed nearly $1.5 billion worldwide, making it the highest-grossing film of that year in North America and the biggest hit of Cruise's career. Importantly, it wasn't just one demographic that made Maverick soar, it was everyone. Young and old, across red states and blue states, hardcore film buffs and casual viewers alike. The film unapologetically celebrated classic American heroism and fun without inserting any contemporary political commentary, and audiences responded in droves. Critics noted that Top Gun, Maverick provided a kind of collective feel-good experience that cut through divisive times. It was the kind of crowd-pleasing success that Hollywood executives dream about, and it happened under the guidance of a star who insisted on keeping the focus on story, spectacle, and universal themes rather than topical messages. Cruise's other franchise, Mission Impossible, has similarly enjoyed global success built on a reputation for white-knuckle action and high-quality filmmaking. By the time he brought Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning to Cannes in 2025, anticipation was sky-high. The rapturous ovation he received was a testament not just to the film itself, but to Cruise's relationship with the audience. He's famous for his relentless dedication to entertaining fans, whether it's performing death-defying stunts himself, flying around the world to attend premieres, or spending hours signing autographs on the red carpet. That goodwill pays off. Moviegoers trust that a Tom Cruise film means they're in for a great time, free from the preachiness or gloom that some other Hollywood fare might bring. As a commentator observed, Cruise has managed to crank out global blockbusters without turning red carpets into political rallies. In other words, he lets his films unite people in excitement rather than divide them over ideology. And in an industry worried about shrinking theater attendance, his ability to draw all segments of the public is more valuable than ever. Robert De Niro, for all his legendary status and genuine passion, hasn't enjoyed a popular hit on the scale of Cruise's recent successes. His outspoken politics have made him a hero to some, but have possibly alienated others. Certainly, the backlash to his Cannes speech suggests that not everyone is willing to follow a movie star from the multiplex into the political arena. By contrast, Cruise's approach of maximizing audience goodwill is showing a clear payoff. Stronger ticket sales, broader appeal, and a kind of cultural ubiquity that most actors half his age would envy. This Cannes confrontation, De Niro's fiery speech versus Cruise's steady, fan-first response, is more than a personal spat. It reflects a deeper tension in Hollywood. On one side, the industry is activist, where stars speak out on society's ills. On the other, Hollywood is entertainer, a place of escape, unity, and shared joy. There's room for both, but Cannes revealed a growing fatigue with political messaging in spaces meant to celebrate art. Audiences admire conviction, but many don't want every festival to double as a political soapbox. So what can Hollywood learn? First, remember the audience. De Niro rightly called art the crucible that brings people together. But if unity is the goal, alienating half the room may not be the best strategy. Tom Cruise shows another path. Thrill, inspire, respect differences. By keeping politics off stage, he leaves space for everyone to enjoy the show. In a polarized time, that approach feels like a rare breath of fresh air. While some stars face boycotts and backlash, Cruise is breaking records and drawing cheers, not because he's loud, but because he unites. Second, timing matters. There's a time for actors to speak out, and a time to let the film speak. De Niro used Cannes to issue a warning about global politics. It made headlines, but did it shift hearts or just echo in an already convinced room? Cruise, by contrast, let his movie do the talking. That restraint, once common in Hollywood, might be worth rediscovering. Finally, staying out of politics can, ironically, be powerful. Cruise didn't rebut De Niro. He simply offered an alternative: humility, fun, and focus on the craft. And the public responded. The Cannes headlines weren't just about a rant, they were about Cruise's apolitical grace and blockbuster-ready charisma. That contrast may offer a sustainable formula. Unite rather than divide, invite rather than alienate. Artists should speak up when they feel compelled, but Cannes reminded us of the cost when doing so overshadows the art itself. As the festival lights dimmed, De Niro had his standing ovation and viral moment. Cruise had a longer ovation and another global hit. One made noise, the other made people smile. In the end, Hollywood might take a cue. To keep the world watching, keep the drama on screen, and let the movies do what they've always done best: bring us together.